As a recruiter, anytime I'm recruiting for a company in the creative sector, once I'm sending your CV, I'm sending a portfolio. That's the first thing because I know that that's what most business owners want to see. How should a creative think about it from a strategic perspective in creating a strong portfolio and strong in terms of attractive? When I see it, I want to know more. I want to speak to this candidate. It's you putting your best foot forward.
I think in the sense of a portfolio, you basically, like you said, have to be very creative. You're already creative. You have to be really creative, and even when you choose to put in the portfolio, um, for me, I honestly just started doing my portfolio. Like, no, I have a portfolio, but like, I didn't think of it as very important until much later. And I was like, I really need, like, it's like, um, it's the best of what you're saying, like how do people see the things you've done, how do people like bank on you, and showing like having now your portfolio really shows. Because I used to have I almost myself forgot all the things I did before, and then like putting in my portfolio, like you're like, okay, it's just sorry, like I keep spacing, but like yeah, I think portfolio is very important in the sense that it just helps you put your best foot forward. It helps you basically categorize everything you've done, and then you also have to be very strategic on what you put in your portfolio, like how are the most unique things you've done, who have you worked with before. You have to show those things in your portfolio. So I just think basically just align yourself, being unique, make sure that is very well designed and very visual as well, showing exactly what it is, not too much talk, very get to the point, especially with your portfolio, and just show what you've done, make it very visual, make it very attractive. Yeah, yeah.
That's very good. So make it visual, make it attractive, and also because you're in the creative sector already, they're kind of expecting something out of the box, not
Yeah.
the ordinary. So you really need to go out of your way to get something or create something that is outstanding. Think about it from the perspective of the person who's reviewing the portfolio. They're going to review quite a number. What will make them say, you know what, let's keep this one aside. We need to come back to this particular person.
Sorry, just even to add, I
Yes.
think one thing is important is to really build your skills. Because for me, even though I do events, I had to, and I do filmmaking, so I had to learn how to edit. I learned how to do graphic design. I learned how to like work with Canva, work with like even photography, so that I know how to take my own pictures in my events. I know what I'm looking for. I know like how the visual aesthetic I want from my events and things like that. So I think developing your skills as well and making sure that it shows in your portfolio as well is very important.
Thank you very much, Ayo. Dola, so you are an employer of labor as well. So you employ creative people and you're creative as well. What would you say are some of the things that would make a creative candidate stand out and what would make you disqualify a creative candidate?
So it's funny enough, we were having a discussion, right? And when I found out what you do and how I've been having a bit of challenge looking for, like, for example, I'm looking for a social media manager, right? With my women's wear brand, it's anyone can easily say I've curated and made content for various brands, but for me, it's more about how passionate are you, and what are the tools and experiences you have actually kind of like what they were mentioning before about, okay, so you started with Canva, but what else can you do? And for me, it's also about the passion and the drive. I feel like a lot of people can be really great at interviewing, and then once they get hired, all of a sudden the energy just kind of stops, right? So for me, I really want to see that you're passionate about something. I really believe in empowering individuals and candidates. You might not have necessarily the full experience that I'm looking for, but if I see that you're really passionate, you're a learner, you really want to excel, that makes me encouraged that, okay, this is someone that's going to stay, because as you all know, retention rates for business owners in Nigeria, they're very, very low. It's not because there's issues. It's just how the industry is. And I would say some disqualifiers for me, I would say red flags is number one is integrity. I think honesty and transparency is very, very key. The creative industry that we're all in various parts, there can be a lot of obviously everything cannot be black and white, but I try and avoid the gray as much as possible. I think people really make you become more reliable to both your audience, to your clients, to whoever, if you're known as someone that sticks to your word. So making sure that you're very, very reliable and very communicative is very, very important.
All right, thank you very much, Toke.
I'm one of those people who does a lot of things. I had a baking business for about 7 years. I sew and make clothes for myself. I'm a poet. I launch all of these businesses. I consult. I do everything. But one of the things I found, two things. One is the path of least resistance. So what is it that I can start right now with the least amount of resources? And whatever that answer is, that should be what you start with. And I think our issues as creatives is that sometimes we get so excited about all of the potentials that we forget that everything doesn't need to be done now. Just because you have an idea and you're excited about it doesn't mean the execution date is now. Some things are meant to be put on the shelf until you have other resources. And the other part to path of least resistance is what can you afford to do? So in 2019, I quit my job in wealth management to start this consultancy that I have, and that's when I wrote my first book. And people were like, why are you writing a book? I'm like, because I already have poetry. The cost of entry into that market is low. And when I wrote that book and I had my book launch, I sold over 150 copies. And I took all of that money and used it to invest into the next part of my business, which was building out a website and building out the back end for my coaching program. So were all of the ideas there? Yes. But wisdom dictates that you shouldn't do everything at once, because you're going to give 20% of yourself to 5 things versus giving 80% of yourself to one thing, getting it to a level where it can sustain itself, and then now reallocating the resources of your time, your money, all of your energy into the next thing and letting it grow like that.
Wow, thank you. That's very profound. Thank you, Tokes.
I think we all have so many ideas, so many things we want to do. Like, I can show you a whole book of ideas, but like one, what's feasible, and then two, like what I actually have capacity for. So I'd say definitely do your 9 to 5. You're just doing your NYC. You have a lot to learn. Like, I'm, I spent a couple years in corporate, but honestly, not enough. My business is suffering in certain areas that I know, like I can see where the gap is. You know, sometimes you don't even know what's missing. I know fully well that a couple more years experience doing certain jobs would solve big problems I have now. So I'd say stay what you're doing and just keep trying out the things you like. Start taking on clients as well when you can. So printing, I was doing printing for my last 2 9 to 5s. I have calls. I'm going out of the office trying to quickly, okay, yeah, this is what you want, this is what you want. I'm talking to some of my guys, maybe depending on what the job is, currently doing the print somewhere else, and I'm trying to manage everything. I mean, I was doing all right. I was making more than my salary, and it came to a point that I was like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to take this jump. In fact, after so I was doing marketing for AXA Mansard, which is an insurance company, and I'd started taking on jobs. Then I started learning graphic design for the fashion business. Honestly, trying to do too many things for myself, and my 9 to 5 was suffering. And anything you're doing, do it properly. So let it not be that you're doing 5 things where everybody's complaining. Like, you say you're doing civil engineering in your office, they're complaining about you. You say you're doing fashion, your clients are complaining about you. This guy is this problem, that problem. You say you're doing printing, guys also complaining about you. If it's only one you're doing, no problem, but shall do it well, like, because it's how you are in this that you'll be in this,
Oh my
and it's how you are in this that guys will talk about you that will get you the opportunities for this. So you might be in fashion, and someone is like, man, I like the way this guy is. Even if tomorrow you say you want to be a swimmer, they're the ones that will pay for your training, because it's like anything this guy does, that's how he's going to do it. So should you do everything? No. Or should you leave your job to do everything? No. But start them. Try them out at your own pace. You can talk to me afterwards as well. I'll help you out like where I can. You can like come and see how we're doing things as well. But like do it slowly. When the time is right, you don't need to ask anybody. It's you that will tell them I'm leaving or this is what I want to do. And you need to be ready to be hungry. Like as in not that you want it to, hungry that you won't eat. Like because there's no job that is sure for you. It's like you might have the passion and you've not seen your client, or you might have your client and them they don't want it. Are you going to tell them, "Alpha, bro, come and print now"? Who are they going to sell it to? It's their decision. Or maybe you've made some clothes and you're begging your customer. You don't want to be that guy that's like, "Alpha, now, bro, please buy from me now." Then they don't even want to buy your stuff because it's probably not like good enough, or you're reducing your own steez.
The truth is that at the stage you are now, this is the grinding stage. This is the period where you can actually test the waters. This is the period where you can try your hands on many things and really know. Because sometimes it might just sound like a great idea, but when you really do it, you realize I actually don't like this aspect of printing. The part I like is this one. And so I'm not going to do the full chain. I'm just going to do one aspect. So I would say stick with your 9 to 5, because at least it pays your bills, it gives you regular income, gives you the opportunity to test the waters without being under pressure. And then you can eventually, like Ayobami said, you will know when it's time to pivot fully.
I would say the first thing you should start to do right is do really a lot of research and see if there's any competitors or anyone that's kind of like doing something that's similar to you, and also starting with as well as a business plan as well. All the ideas and things that you've had in your mind, I think it's always best. I still write things down by paper. When it's things I know I need to get done ASAP, while I do have my own notebook and thing like that, I make sure to write everything down on paper. Once you write everything down on paper, it's basically just like a brain dump. Then, hello, it's 2025. Everyone knows ChatGPT. Use AI tools. You can actually be like, okay, this is kind of the business idea that I have in mind. Dump all of those things that you've written down. Have some prompts for ChatGPT, and then that will actually help you be like, okay, this is how maybe I can potentially start this into being a business. And outside of doing that as well, it's important, even though everyone says, okay, networking, it's not always efficient. You can be very intentional, right? You can do research and see, okay, has anyone done something similar? Even if they haven't done something similar, are they attached to some way that they can potentially help me to grow my business or help me to grow this idea, utilizing LinkedIn, utilizing whatever events that are happening, like she was saying as well. It might not be even the event might not necessarily be catered to exactly what you want, but you could potentially meet someone there that can actually help you grow the idea. And also, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Starting a business is it's challenging, but I think when you have measurable goals and when you know, okay, I can do this in the next 1 month, I can do this in the next 6 months, I can do this in the next 1 year, and you're continuously tracking your progress, you yourself will feel even more energized. And lastly, another thing that's very, very important as well is also like the branding as well. I think a lot of Nigerians, there's countless of people that have business that's generate new businesses every day. But a brand to be successful, it's more than just the logo, the website, all of that. What makes you different? What is your why? What is the solution that you're trying to, the problem you're trying to solve? Do you understand? So once you understand your why, that's going to help you push yourself more, and you will feel even more confident.
So sometimes when we look at 9 to 5 and the question of should we just pursue our career versus 9 to 5, it's not always a money issue. Like Bam said at the beginning, that there are gaps that he's noticing in his business right now that if he had stayed a little bit longer in his 9 to 5, he would have filled those gaps. Yes. So when you are in your 9 to 5, whether you hate it, whether you love it, the question you need to ask yourself as a creative is, what skills can I gain from this place that I'll be able to leverage in my business? And I have an example of this. I've been running my business for 7 years, as I said. And in 2021, I ended up seeing an opportunity to be an executive consultant at one of the biggest banks in Canada. And it was HR, so it was DEI. And a friend was like, you should apply. And I said, me, an entrepreneur, I don't need this 9 to 5, even if it's a 1-year contract. But then I applied to that job. When I was being interviewed, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be working with executives. I run a coaching and consulting business. They're telling me that I'm consulting here. How do I add things that I can benefit from? So I told them as I was being interviewed, I was like, can we add a coaching component to this facilitation? Can we add advisory to this? I want to be in the rooms where we're advising our shareholders. I want to coach the CEOs. And by the end of that year, they wanted to keep me full-time. I said no, and I was able to use the skills and leverage of the social proof of that company to over 3x my hourly rate in my business. Would I eventually get there? Yes. But was it much faster for me to be paid to learn the skills that I could then leverage? Yes. So I'm not saying that that job is not toxic, but as you said, remote has its voila. Entrepreneurship has its voila. 9 to 5 has its voila. But even in the midst of the voila, find the thing that you can hold on to and allow that to be your energy and momentum to deal with the voila until you get to the other side.
Thank you to our wonderful panelists. Thank you for your time today, and thank you to everyone who was part of this as well. I hope we're able to provide some answers to you guys and give you some clarity as well. So thank you very much.